Israel has found the bodies of 8 gunmen who attacked a security checkpoint at the Egyptian border. 16 Egyptian soldiers were killed in the assault. The militants tried to force their way through to Israel but were repelled by border guards. Both Israel and Egypt blame the attack on Islamist militants who become increasingly active in recent months. For more on the situation, we turn to Eric Dreitzer, an analyst at StopImperialism.com. So the Muslim Brotherhood some elements in the Muslim Brotherhood are actually blaming the Mossad for this, though President Morsi says Gaza militants were responsible. What's your take on that?
Well, I think it's impossible to say for certain. What we do know is that the Mossad is directly intertwined with some of the terrorist organizations which operate in the region. The Mossad has for years claimed to be fighting against these extremist elements on the Sinai Peninsula, while in fact it's known that they're implicated in either controlling and or penetrating into some of them. So there's certainly grounds for some of what Morsi and the Muslim Brotherhood are saying. At the same time, I think it's less important to examine necessarily who might have carried that out because it's somewhat unknown, but the significance of this, playing up the idea that Egypt and Israel must be at each other, it benefits both sides because the Muslim Brotherhood is able to play to their base while the reactionaries in Israel behind Netanyahu and the ultra-right are able to play to theirs. So this is stoking the conflict, stoking the tension in order to execute the geopolitical agenda of the West.
Well, were this Islamist militants, what kind of goals do you think they were trying to achieve through this?
Well, I think that there's the obvious, which is to destroy whatever cooperation does exist as a remnant of the Egyptian-Israeli treaties. This is also perhaps to bolster the Muslim Brotherhood in terms of the Salafi extremist elements in Egypt, but at a very basic level, this is to stoke the conflict that is existing in that region and drives up the cost of gas, for example, attacking the oil pipeline, the gas pipeline infrastructure, and a variety of other geopolitical issues. This is geopolitical in nature, not ideological.
Now, Israel has feared a rise in violence toward the country after the fall of the Mubarak regime. Do you think this border attack is a confirmation of those worries?
I think that there's definitely something to be said for that, though at the same time, Israel benefits from this type of an attack because this allows Israel to ramp up the police state. It allows them to ramp up their efforts to isolate and or ghettoize the Gaza Strip. It allows Israel to move forward with a lot of the plans that they have had. It is difficult for Israel to do that in a climate where Israel is seen as an aggressor. But if they can legitimize their efforts by saying, look, here are the extremists, they're attacking the Egyptians just as they attack Israelis, well, then Israel can go about its plans of isolating Gaza and continuing in that direction.
What do you think this spells for the future of relations with Egypt and Israel?
It's difficult to say because the Muslim Brotherhood, in terms of their governance, is somewhat of an unknown entity. Remember, there's a lot of litmus tests, a lot of barometers by which we're going to evaluate what the Muslim Brotherhood is actually going to look like as the governing body. They've paid lip service to the anti-Zionists in Egypt. They pay lip service to the more conservative elements, while at the same time they court the IMF, they court the World Bank, they court a lot of the Western institutions. So Israel is an easy scapegoat for them, but in the grand scheme of things, the Muslim Brotherhood is playing right along with Wall Street and London and Washington in their game, thereby working with the Israelis by extension. The question is, are these relations going to fundamentally change from Mubarak to the Muslim Brotherhood? Are we going to see a more adversarial relationship? On the surface, it would seem that that's the case, but I think that in reality, the Muslim Brotherhood is bought and paid for just as the Israelis are.
Finally, briefly, what impact do you think this attack will have on Israel's relationship with the Palestinians?
Again, it allows Israel to continue to commit egregious violations of international law against the Palestinians. They're not able to maintain the Gaza blockade. They're not able to maintain the ghettoization of the Gaza Strip without the elements in the Sinai Peninsula that we see in this incident. To legitimize their attacks on the Palestinians, they have to have an enemy. The enemy can't be the weak and defenseless Palestinians. It has to be extremists in Sinai, extremists coming over from Egypt, and that's what we're seeing rationalizing what Israel has done.
All right, we have to leave it there. Eric Dreitzer, an analyst from StopImperialism.org. Thank you.